Friend like you is a friend like me. A friend like us is a friend like we. Whenever you're in trouble, you can call on me. I'll be there to protect you in a heartbeat. Stuck in the brain. Hey, what's up, Roxstars? It's Rox coming to you today. Look, I wasn't planning on doing a review of this movie, but after watching the movie, and of course I did tell you guys that my nephew was the director and co-writer for the movie. Shout out to Brandon Espy. Woo, 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 woo. I tell you, proud auntie here. I was like, Roxanne, you got to do a review. It's going to be a short review, and it's not really a review, but it will be spoilers in here. So if you haven't watched the movie yet, then maybe you guys should not watch this video just yet. So I'll give you a little time to click off. I say I'm gonna take some time off, y'all. All the cashiers, they was like, somebody stole her truck. It was like you could hear it all throughout the store. This Rox coming to you today with a review for Love and Marriage Detroit, Love and Marriage Huntsville, our book 4, Real Housewives of Atlanta. Let's get to it, shall we? All right, you guys, now that we've got that out the way, listen. We're here to talk about Mr. Crocket. It is one of the newest horror movies that was released on Hulu. Part of their Huluween. Every year they have a segment of their platform that is dedicated to like horror movies. And my nephew's movie, Mr. Crocket, was featured as a kickoff to the season of like Halloween movie watching. The movie Mr. Crocket was written by Carl Reed and my nephew Brandon, directed by my nephew Brandon Espy. It stars Jerrica Hinton and Elvis Nolasco as the character Mr. Crocket. First off, let me just say that before we even get into the actual review of the movie, Elvis is going to be remembered in this role, and rightfully so, on the good side of history, because he did an excellent job of portraying this eerily creepy, a demented, demonic character. If you took a Mr. Rogers and you blended him with Pee Wee Herman and you threw in a little Freddy Krueger as like a good little addition to the whole mix, and you've got Mr. Crocket. And the premise of the movie is Mr. Crocket, he had a children's television show, very much like Mr. Rogers. He had a TV show in the 70s called Mr. Crockett's World. And sometime after the show was popular, Mr. Crocket ended up dying and nobody ever really knew what happened to him. This was back in the 70s. Now fast forward to 1994, which is where this movie is set in. And now we have like a mystical mailbox that is circulating around this neighborhood, around this community. It's showing up in front of homes with children. And at first you don't know why this mailbox is showing up in front of people's houses, but as you continue to watch the movie, you realize that this mailbox shows up in front of people's houses that are considered bad parents. So the parents go to this mailbox and they are drawn to a specific VHS tape. And side note, you guys, this movie will give you all of the nostalgic feels of those shows that I talked about, but just reminiscent of, I've seen a lot of people talk about analog horror. I'm just assuming that means that it has horror that has the special effects of analog time and not necessarily digitalized special effects where it's done by a computer. Okay, so instead of something spectacular happening, if a person gets sliced in the stomach, their guts just fall out on the floor. Okay, no razzle dazzle, but still giving you that old feel. That's why I said if you mix in like Nightmare on Elm Street, like Freddy Krueger, it's going to give you all of that. And of course the VHS is going to make you feel like that too. I think this movie really is like a nod to the millennial. I think the people that are millennial age and up will feel a certain way about this movie because it gives you that feeling of, back in the day, the type of movies that we used to watch when it came to the horror genre. Okay. And when it came to children's TV shows, because you guys know even today, the children's TV shows are a bit different than they were when you just had big puppets, when you just had you had like a talking clock on the wall, when you had people in animal costumes and the sort. Okay, so that is like the general feel of this movie. Anyway, back to the movie. So when the parent actually is drawn to this VHS tape, it is Mr. Crockett's World. They put it in for their children to watch it, and then the child is eventually hypnotized, and when the parent does something bad to the child, that Mr. Crocket deems as bad to the child, then he shows up, he kidnaps the children, and then he kills the parent. Where we are in the story in 1994 is there is a woman whose husband has recently died, and she has now found herself a single parent and not necessarily equipped to handle her child who is going through grief the same way that she is, but also the regular growing pains of a child right around 8-9 years old, in that age where it can be very difficult for a single person to raise, so just imagine all of those things compounded on top of each other. This little boy missing his dad the same way that this woman is missing her husband, and now she's dealing with a child that's acting out. She finds the tape, she puts the tape in for her son, and like I said, the son is enthralled. Like, he is captivated, he is basically hypnotized, brainwashed, and cannot turn away from Mr. Crockett's World. So much like how many of us parents are when we feel our kids are doing anything too much of, it's sort of like, okay, that's enough. Let's watch something else. Okay. And of course, that is when Mr. Crocket shows up, because how dare you pull this child away from his show, which is all quality and love, and now you, as the bad parent, are keeping this kid from, enjoying Mr. Crockett's World. So I won't give like full details of the movie, but this movie is basically about this woman trying to get her son back from Mr. Crocket. So yes, demented, demonic Mr. Rogers meets Freddy Krueger and Pee Wee Herman. Best description that I can give you guys. I thought that the movie did a great job of showing how frightening children's shows used to be. And I think that many of us who used to watch those TV shows that I mentioned, who maybe even went to Disneyland, like if you can just think of like Disneyland, even though I know Disneyland is not a show, or a movie, but if you can think of Disneyland and you can think of the section in Disneyland where all of the kids rides are. So think of Peter Pan, the Cinderella ride, the Mad Hatter's ride, the Snow White ride, okay, the Dumbo flying ride. Like, think of all of those rides in Disneyland. And if you really truly sit back and think about it, those rides, Peter Pan, Mad Hatter, Snow White, for example, are quite frightening. Let me tell you real quick, I'll put this in. Like, one time we went to Disneyland and it was an uneven number of us, okay? And so we wanted to ride on the Mad Hatter's ride. And it has that thing where you sit in and maybe 3 people can fit in there, 2 or 3 people. But however it worked out, I ended up on one of those things that you go through the ride by myself. And if you remember that ride, you go into each room, like the little car drives into a room and it shows you whatever is in the room, and then you go on to the next room, and you're never in the room with the other person in the ride, okay? So just imagine going through all of this weird, spooky, strange, creepy shit, and then being on it by yourself. It's no longer fun, cute Disneyland ride. Now this shit is quite terrifying, okay? And I was just like, oh my God, who would have ever thought that this shit was as scary as it was? By the time I got through that ride, I was just like, bitch, never again. You ain't never getting me on that ride ever again by myself. And even when I'm with people, like if I'm with the kids, it is still creepy, So just is that the movie puts you in that feel. Again, analog horror, so not like all these crazy special effects. I mean, a kill is just a kill here. All right. If you think about the very first time that we see Mr. Crocket attack the stepfather of the young man who, the first kid that gets abducted in the movie. That kill was just way out. Okay, we slice open his stomach. We is pouring food and plates and shit down his stomach. A damn iron. Okay, like you can't get much gruesome than that. So you do have the gore and the horror and the scariness factor. It is quite creepy to see Mr. Crocket go from extremely elated, laughing and giggling, to a very serious, almost maniac looking face, with his big teeth and, his exaggerated smile. He has this afro he has on the classic 70s colors. It is definitely a nod to the millennial, I believe. I think so. And my nephew is definitely a millennial. So this fits right along with what he probably grew up on. So if you do miss that kind of horror, you will definitely get it in this movie. At its core, this story is about bad parents who raise kids who grow up to become bad parents as well. So in essence, Mr. Crocket is stopping like a vicious cycle. Okay. I guess in his mind, he's doing a great thing. However, most kids do not want to be taken away from their parents. Yes, they may be upset with their parents for a certain amount of time, but at the end of the day, nobody wants to be taken by this demonic character that comes through the TV and kills the parents, right? These kids just don't know it because they're hypnotized. So yeah, that is basically the movie. This woman on a quest to get her son back, and the things that she has to go through. She hooks up with a guy, and side note, when the guy was like, oh, this is my daughter, Lauren, who he's looking for. That was my niece, Lauren. That's Brandon's, that was Brandon's sister. I was like, oh, look at all Lauren, when she was like maybe in the 3rd grade or something like that. It was cute. I caught it. That was a fun fact, for you guys. But anyway, what did I think about the movie? I actually thought the movie was good. I thought the movie was a fun, good, dark time, a good mix of comedy and horror. And like I've told you guys, I was so proud to see my nephew's name flash up on that screen, when it was over, directed by Brandon Espy, written by Brandon. I was just really proud to see that. Because he has been churning at this for a long time. He's been working at this for a long time. This movie, Mr. Crocket, used to be a short that was done for Hulu, I believe, a couple of years ago. And it was just like a 6-minute short. And now Hulu decided to turn that short into a full feature-length movie. So a great opportunity for Brandon. He's been grinding at this, and it's very rewarding to see him finally get to this place. They had a huge screening on Thursday night at Mann's Grauman's Chinese Theater in Los Angeles, in Hollywood. And all of my family was there, and I was looking at the pictures and seeing my brother and my sister-in-law and her siblings and all of my nieces and nephews and everybody there supporting. And it just broke my heart that I was not there, but definitely there in spirit. It's just one of those moments in my family that I just am extremely proud, which you guys know I don't often do movie reviews. So I definitely wanted to get on here and tell Brandon how proud I was of seeing him do this, because we've all been watching Brandon go. He was acting, and then he got into photography and videography, and he started learning the craft and the trade, and he has landed here. I mean, definite hard work, a lot of sacrifices, and he's here. And I'm just such a proud auntie, you guys, such a proud auntie. So I have been looking at the reviews all weekend and seeing what people think about it. People are making TikTok videos, and I've seen it on Twitter, and people are talking about it. And, you've got a lot of people that are enjoying it. People that don't, it might not necessarily be their thing, and that's fine too. What I'll say to that is that I hope that people realize that, again, this is Brandon's first feature-length film. He is gaining experience. This is also, because it's his first movie, I'm sure his budget was not as big as he probably would have loved it to be, so that he could have done more things, even though it still wanted to keep that campy cult classic kind of feel. I can already tell that that's what he was shooting for. But even with a larger budget, I'm sure he'll be able to do more. So if we do perhaps get a part 2, because the way that this movie ended, us knowing that Mr. Crocket is still not necessarily too far away, that magic marker is still out there, you know, maybe we can continue on with the story. I mean, I think that this is a character that a lot of people would still be interested in. I think that this is going to be a character that many people remember Elvis Nolasco for, and rightfully so. He does an excellent job of portraying this man, okay, and just going back and forth, just the personality, the character itself, the fact that he goes from happy to crazy to maniac to, you know, kind and soft, and then, you know, back to this lunatic. I mean, it was definitely a ride. Enjoyed it so much. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. For those of you guys who still haven't watched it yet and you maybe not be into horror like that, listen, I am not into horror like that either. I had to ask Brandon, like, is this movie gonna be like something that I cannot watch and, you know, I'm scary and all that? And he was like, no, it's really it's like fun horror, and it has some comedy in there. And so what I did was watched it during the day. So if you are one of those people who are, you know, not necessarily, you know, who get spooked and creeped out and things, then maybe you should watch it during the day too. But I didn't have any problem sleeping last night. That's pretty much it for me, you guys. You guys have to let me know what you thought about the movie. It's fine if you didn't enjoy it. Like, I just, please don't tear my nephew down in the comments if you didn't enjoy it. I think that most people, I've been getting a lot of feedback from a lot of rock stars, and many of you guys have been saying that you enjoyed it. So I think that the general feel is people felt like the same way that I felt, you know, that it was a fun, you know, cool horror movie. And if you got the idea of it being like an old, you know, like a nod to nostalgic children TV, then you understood it. But there are some people that it's just not for, and I realize that too. It's just that I am not going to be able to watch. You know, you can't just be tearing my baby down. Okay, you can be critical, and all that, but just don't be saying nothing crazy, because I'm gonna have to block you. Okay. And then Brandon, if Brandon happens to watch this, because I didn't tell him that I was doing a review or anything, but if he does happen to watch this, I just know that I'm so proud of you. I am so proud. I know that it was a lot. It was a labor of love. It was a whole bunch that, you know, you and, you know, that you guys went through to make this happen. But I just want great things for you. I want to see this movie continue on. And I want to see him up on that big screen. Okay, I want to see his name in the movies, and I know that I will. I can tell that this was a great leap for Brandon. More people are going to know who he is, and this is just great. So that's it, you guys. Proud auntie moment. Okay, shout out to my brother Wayne, who passed some years ago, back in 2012, I believe it was, who wasn't here to see it. But just, if I could say anything, I know that Wayne is proud. And I just hate that he's not here to see it. He just needed to be here to see it. I know he's watching down, but I hate that he wasn't here to see how his son finally, you know, made good on what he said he was going to do. He went out and he did it. So that's it, y'all. I'm gonna stop getting mushy, because my eyes gonna start watering and shit. Ain't nobody came here for that. All right, y'all, let me know what you thought about the movie. Leave all that below. And I'm gonna get on off of here, okay? I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, and I plan on doing the same. Till next time, Roxstars. Bye.